Hi, and welcome back to Baba Eats, where I share healthy meals that I'm making for my family, including my toddler. In my last video, it was part one of a week's worth of meals. I wanted to share what I started with at the beginning of the week and how I prepared meals over the course of the week while paying attention to those perishable items and making sure that I ended up at the end of the week without any vegetables going bad in the fridge or on the countertop. And it was a lot of content, so I split it into two videos. So if you'd like to go back and watch the first part of the week, you'll find that in part one. And today I'll be getting into part two, which is the meals that I made for the latter part of the week. I'm gonna be starting with making a chicken soup, and I'll be using the remains of that whole chicken that I roasted in the oven in part one. So for that chicken, I had it in the oven with some seasonings. I used some fresh dill, some fresh sage, fresh garlic, lemon, olive oil, and some onions, salt, and pepper. So that roasted chicken was very flavorful, had those nice herbs in there, and I saved all of the drippings from that chicken, took the little bits of chicken off the bones of the chicken and saved all of that leftover chicken bits and the drippings to then put into this soup. And I'm making this soup to give to a friend who was really sick recently and just got home from the hospital, and I thought it would be nice to not have to think about what their family is going to be eating for at least one night this week. So I thought that soup would be the right thing to hit the spot, especially with this cold weather. Can't go wrong with chicken soup. So for this chicken soup, I'm going to be having that base flavor from all the spices, the dill and the sage and the garlic that were already in the roasted chicken. And I'm going to be adding some more things in there to make it a little bit more hearty and filling. And in a chicken soup, I think that potatoes give it that nice, hearty, filling aspect. So I'm going to be chopping up some yellow potatoes and putting those into saute a little bit, and also some chopped carrots will be going in there to saute a little bit. And once my potatoes and carrots have sauteed and gotten a little bit soft, not too soft since I'm going to be cooking them again in the broth, I am going to add in some ginger, and I'm adding that in at this point because I don't want it to burn. So I'm adding in the ginger and the leftover chicken and juices from the chicken and mix that all up, and then I'll be adding in some additional chicken broth to add more liquid into the soup so that it can boil for a while and those potatoes and carrots can get a little bit softer and all of the flavor can get infused throughout the broth. So while that chicken soup is starting to warm and boil, I'm going to be getting started on the dinner for my family for this evening. And for us this evening, I'm going to be making some rice and lentils with some roasted vegetables. I always prefer to use brown rice because it has that extra fiber, and I give it a quick rinse and do 2 parts water per 1 part rice. And for the lentils, I like to give them a little extra flavor. So when I am boiling my lentils, I'm going to use 2 parts of vegetable broth, 1 part of water with 1 part of lentils. And I find that that really helps to get some flavor into the lentils and just gives them a little extra something. So while I get my rice and my lentils started on the stove, I have my oven preheating so that I can roast my vegetables. And I'm gonna start by chopping up some carrots and get those roasting first, because that is the firmest vegetable that I'm working with today, and I want those to be a little bit cooked before I add in the other vegetables. So while the carrots start roasting, I'm going to prepare my other vegetables that I'll be roasting. I'm going to be adding in some green onions and some mushrooms. I'm also going to be making a really colorful salad using another one of the heads of lettuce that I got at the farmer's market. And as I'm chopping my green onions, I'm going to reserve some of the tops of those chives to put into my salad. I'm going to be using some grated ginger that I was using for the soup, and I'm just going to grate extra of that to put into the salad as well to give a little spice to the salad dressing. And then my salad is going to have some bell peppers and tomatoes along with that nice fresh lettuce from the farmer's market. And these are the mushrooms that I got at the farmer's market. It was a variety pack of a bunch of different types of mushrooms. And I don't know what all the different types of mushrooms are, but they looked so beautiful and delicious. I could not wait to use these in this dish. After I got my vegetables in the oven, I'm checking on the soup and making sure that it's cooked, but don't want the potatoes to be too soft. So I'm getting a little taste to make sure that it's good before I take it off the stove and package it up to give to my friend. And the soup was so warm and delicious. I love that dill and sage flavor in there. Just a light flavor, the warmth of the ginger, and a little bit of saltiness in there. It seemed like the perfect recovery soup. Now I'm adding the lettuce, that delicious head of lettuce from the farmer's market, into the salad. And for the salad dressing, I already have the chives and ginger in the salad to give it some flavor. I'm going to be adding some fresh squeezed lemon and rice vinegar, as well as some salt, pepper, and olive oil. And now dinner is all ready. My lentils and rice are done. My roasted vegetables are done. I'm pulling the roasted vegetables out of the oven and keeping the oven on. I am going to put in my pot that I like to cook my bread in. I have bread that I've prepared earlier in the day. I wanted to pair that chicken soup that I made with some delicious fresh bread for my friend. And here's a look at our final plates. We have that colorful salad, those lentils, rice, and beautiful mushrooms. Oh my gosh, these mushrooms were so delicious. Baba also enjoyed this meal. She loves lentils and she ate pretty much her whole plate. Going into the next day, this is what I made for lunch. I had some rice and squash that were left over from a prior meal that I'm reheating in the microwave. And then I made some fresh white beans that I've been simmering on the stove for a while. And I'm chopping up some spinach to have some green on the plate. There was a little bit of chicken left over from the chicken that I had cooked previously. So by this time we've had chicken for 3-4 different meals. That whole chicken went a long way. It was a chilly day and I wanted mine more as a soup. So I put some of the liquid from cooking the beans into my bowl and ate it as a delicious warming soup, and I loved it. And I had some leftover yogurt sauce from before that I'm going to be adding on there as a dressing. And to give a little extra color and crunch, I decided to add a little bit of pomegranate seeds to this dish. and it was a nice combination of textures and flavors, and we all really enjoyed this lunch. Now we're gonna do another quick fridge check-in to see how we're doing, make sure there's no vegetables that are gonna be going bad, no fruit that's gonna be going bad. Looks like at this point I still had some mushrooms remaining. I also still had some berries and grapes. Those are still looking pretty good. I also still had some sprouts left over, or microgreens. The cauliflower was still remaining. Some beans left over from the lunch that I just made, and some yellow squash and zucchini. My fruit drawer still has a bunch of apples in there. Those will last for a while. And my other vegetable drawer has some carrots and dill in there. Those also will last for a while, so I'm not worried about those. So in looking at the fridge, it seems like we have gone through anything that would really go bad quickly, and the main things we want to use up this week are going to be the squash, the fruit, and the mushrooms. Now we're on to day 5, and we've been having fried eggs and bread and fruit for our breakfast for pretty much all of this week. And on day 5, I didn't have very much time because I had somewhere to be and I needed something quick and didn't really feel like eating the egg breakfast again. So for day 5, I decided to make yogurt, and I'm using whole yogurt here, whole milk yogurt. I prefer goat yogurt, and I'm using whole milk goat yogurt here. And I'm going to be adding in some Bob's Red Mill muesli. This is the best muesli. I'm not sure how many different varieties are out there, but I noticed that most of them contain coconut, dried coconut, and I prefer mine without coconut. And this particular one that I got at Whole Foods is without coconut, and I really enjoy it. So I'm using yogurt, some of this muesli, and then I'll be chopping up a banana into that as well. And I mix it up really well, make sure that the bananas are in small pieces, and I'll scoop some of this out to give to my daughter, and we'll have the same breakfast. She doesn't like to have big chunks of bananas, or she'll spit them out. But if I have the bananas chopped up really small in there, she will gobble this up. She loves this breakfast as much as I do. Now we're on to lunch for day 5, and today I'm going to be freshening up some leftovers again. I had some chopped apples that I had given my daughter for a snack the day before that she didn't finish. So I'm going to be giving her some apples. I have microgreens that need to be used up. So I'm going to be giving myself and my husband a huge pile of microgreens on our plate. That with the leftover rice and lentils and roasted vegetables. And my daughter found my remote for my camera, so she's having some fun zooming in there. And she found the lock switch on it. I had a hard time figuring out how to work the remote because I didn't realize it was locked. But having a toddler can be a handful when trying to make breakfast and video at the same time. She is adorable though. And this was a super tasty meal. I love the texture of those just slightly crunchy microgreens, super fresh to freshen up the lentils and rice. And day 5, we actually went out to dinner, so I don't have videos of me making dinner, but we tried a new pizza place in town, and we got this delicious white pizza with ricotta, and it had some kind of chili cream sauce on it that was just slightly spicy, and mushrooms, and it was delicious. I would definitely go back there. And for the kids menu, they had pasta with red sauce, so we got my daughter some little spiral noodles with their marinara sauce, and she ate the entire bowl, and she ate some of the pizza too. Although she didn't like the spiciness on the pizza, she did like the ricotta cheese and the bread. So we shared a little piece of that pizza as well, and she ate a ton that night. So she would definitely go back there again as well. Now on to day 6 for lunch. I'm gonna be making some squash noodle. I'm starting with sauteing some onions, and then I'm going to make these noodles with my squash by using a peeler and slicing long ribbons of yellow squash and zucchini. And I'll be adding that into the onions to soften it up a little bit. I'm gonna add some garlic for flavor, and then I'm gonna add some diced up tofu for protein. To flavor this dish, I'm using some fresh squeezed lemon along with some soy sauce and pepper. I also topped this one with a little bit of hemp seed for some extra protein and just to make it look pretty on top as well. And my daughter's plate was accompanied with some apple slices. Super simple, super delicious. We all loved this meal. And my daughter doesn't always like tofu, but she did like the flavor of this and ate a little bit of it and a little bit of the squash as well. Now on to day 6 dinner. I'm gonna be doing a full plate of vegetables, a vegetable feast with all of the vegetables that I have remaining. I'm gonna start with one dish that's gonna be some onions and potatoes and dill that I'm gonna roast in the oven. And those are gonna take a little bit longer than my other dish, so I'm gonna get the potatoes in the oven first, and then separate from the potatoes, I'm gonna do some cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. With the potatoes, the dill is the main feature here, some salt and pepper and olive oil, and then that is ready to go into the oven. And for the Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, I wanted to really showcase the flavors in those vegetables. So again, I kept the seasoning very simple: salt, pepper, olive oil. My go-to blend, if you could call it that. For the potatoes, I didn't want the dill to burn, so I'm cooking the potatoes with the onions for a while, and when those are looking mostly cooked, then I'm going to be adding in the dill. I also added in some green onions here and the rest of the mushrooms that I had on hand. Oh, and can't forget the garlic. I like to add in a little garlic here and there. It's always a nice flavor and added health benefits from the garlic. I'm also going to be making another type of yogurt sauce to go with this dish. I'm reserving some of the fresh dill and chopping that up really finely. Then I'm going to add in yogurt, fresh lemon juice, salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil, and mix that up into a delicious sauce to spread on top of this dish. For the protein, I'm using beans that I had left over from a previous meal and warming those up in the microwave, then adding all of my freshly roasted vegetables on top and my delicious yogurt sauce, and bon appetit. Now we've reached the end of the week. We have some leftovers that we'll eat over the next day or two. We have a little bit of cauliflower remaining that I'll end up roasting at some point, and some grapes that my daughter will eat over the next day or two. But we had a successful week of using up all of our perishable vegetables, creating delicious, healthy meals. No one got bored, all the flavors were good. This week had some vegan and vegetarian meals mixed in, and I'll be doing more of that going forward. Let me know if you have any questions about how to get protein into those types of meals, and any other questions you might have. I'd be happy to answer or create new content that's tailored towards some questions that you may have. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.